If you're in the market for your very first luxury car and you want it to have an Audi badge on the front, this is probably the model you're going to be looking at. This is the 2020 Audi Q3, the smallest and most inexpensive vehicle in Audi's lineup. Now, the last generation Q3, I didn't like very much. It was kind of just a port of what they got over in Europe that they had for years, and they didn't really change it much for the American market. This 2020 model is, in fact, all new. You can distinguish it by this new front end. Looks a lot like the larger Q8. That's a good thing for sure, because the Q8 is gorgeous. This isn't quite as good looking, but for the small size, I think it looks really good. We have the S-Line package, which means we have these bigger wheels. I think this gray color looks amazing. Audi is actually offering an assortment of really nice colors, although you'll probably opt for a boring one like most people do. There's a nice orange, there's a nice blue, two blues in fact, and this really cool gray here. We're going to go ahead and get it out of the road to see how it drives. This is a subcompact luxury SUV, which means it's quite small. So I asked Audi to borrow one of these for a weekend while I had Thanksgiving break with my family. And my family is a bit harsh on cars. They want to be wowed. So we're going to find out whether or not this Audi is capable of wowing a family who is used to more mainstream cars from Dodge and Mazda and Nissan, to see if it really is worth upgrading to make this your first luxury vehicle purchase. From the moment I started driving the Q3, I realized there was something familiar about the way this car drives. That's because it's a Golf underneath. This car uses the same Volkswagen MQB platform that underpins everything, including one of my favorite cars of all time, the Volkswagen Golf GTI. So I knew I was going to like it from the get-go because the way it drives is very solid, very German. The steering is extremely light, but it gets the job done. The ride comfort is on the firm side, but I think it's comfortable enough to drive every day. Even with the larger wheels on this S-Line package, I never thought that it felt too uncomfortable like I did with the BMW X2. I thought that car was just a little bit too stiff for my liking. Now, all Q3s in America are going to be sold with the same engine, a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder with 220 horsepower and 258 foot-pounds of torque. That's going to go out through an 8-speed automatic transmission. It's actually an Aisin transmission that's built by Toyota. It's the same transmission that the BMW X2 uses, actually. It's just interesting to see the German automakers all turn to the Japanese for their front-wheel drive based transmissions. Kind of interesting. Transmission itself shifts extremely smoothly, almost CVT smoothly. I'm going to go ahead and ask it for a downshift. It goes pretty quick. You can take manual control on the paddles, although I haven't really done so in my time driving the Q3. It just doesn't really feel like that type of car to me. This is not a dual clutch transmission, and it really does not feel like it. There are some drive modes that you can play around with to better access that 220 horsepower as I turn onto this back road. The car doesn't feel like a barnstormer. That's full throttle. There's a shift, very smooth. Didn't really feel anything there. 7 seconds is what Audi's going to quote to 60, so it does have some get up and go, but this car weighs a little over 3,900 pounds. That's a lot for what is essentially a very tiny SUV, so it does feel a little bit more sluggish than the powertrain would suggest on paper. The Audi A3, the sedan version of this car, feels a lot quicker to me. And that weight is also going to become a factor when you start looking at your fuel economy, because the EPA rates this car at 19 city, 27 highway, 22 combined. Those numbers are not astonishing by any respect. I think the Volvo XC40 and BMW X2 can both do better than that. The readout is showing me 23.8, although I have done a lot of highway driving in this car. So, to sum up, there's nothing to write home about in terms of driving experience here, but if you like the way that Volkswagens feel, you're gonna like the way that this feels. Solid, not super sporty, but just giving you a little bit of driver precision to make you feel like you're buying something a little bit better than the run-of-the-mill Honda or Toyota. I don't think it's super special in any of the drive modes, but it's definitely comfortable enough to be a city car that I would consider buying. Now that we've checked out how the Q3 drives, let's go ahead and pull over and check out the interior. All right, so now that we've pulled over, let's check out the Q3's interior, which I think is pretty nice, although even my family was able to discern that not everything in here feels all that premium. We've got a really nice steering wheel, we've got really nice seats. I absolutely adore this orange Alcantara accenting that you can get optionally. I think it goes really well with the dark gray exterior, but a lot of the materials like the door cards, the door handles, things like that, the shifter feel a little bit cheap, and I guess at this entry-level price point for Audi, that's to be expected. But all of the key touch points, like the knurled knobs, the nice leather steering wheel, those feel pretty premium. So that is a plus. There's also a lot of storage in here. You have some area here. This is your wireless charger. Of course, you also have a USB and USB-C over here. 2 cup holders with an area in the middle where you can slot your phone. That's pretty convenient as well. The starter button and the volume knob are in a bit of a weird spot. This is Audi's Touch MMI infotainment system. It's a bit different than when we last tested it on the A6. It doesn't have that feature where you can click it and then you kind of have to click a little bit more to get the button push, which I think works just fine in this capacity. I have no problem with it. I think it's really easy to use. Very nice, clear maps, powered by Google. So everything looks photorealistic from a satellite. You can tell exactly where you are. You get the same display up here. This is one of the best instrument cluster and infotainment connections I've seen in any luxury car. Take a look at this. This gauge is all screen. If I want, I can have it be very small, just showing me a little bit of my map with the tachometer and speedometer, or I can have it show my phone, radio, or consumption information. And if I click view, it gets really big and the whole screen becomes that. I think it is absolutely phenomenal. The Bang & Olufsen, stereo sounds very good. So in terms of cabin quality, it's pretty good in here, although it is nowhere near perfect. Let's go ahead and check out the back seat. The rear area isn't huge, but Audi says you do get 36 inches of legroom back here, which is pretty good for the segment. These seats do slide, although even in the most far back position, I don't have a ton of legroom back here. You do have 2 USBs, so the kids don't have to fight over which one of them can charge. Now let's go check out the trunk. One of the problems with subcompacts is they don't have enough trunk space. This one is fine. We've got the power lift gate here, hands-free as well. So 23.7 cubic feet of storage. If you fold down the seats, you're gonna get up to 48 cubic feet. It's big enough. You can fit maybe 2 large suitcases here. You do have a spare tire underneath. You have this nice cargo cover as well, but these aren't gigantic cars in any class. This happens to be on the larger side. Now let's go ahead and price out our 2020 Audi Q3 Premium Plus. Time to price out our 2020 Audi Q3. $34,700 for the premium trim, or $36,000 for the S-Line. Now, even the premium trim still includes the virtual cockpit display, LED headlights, Audi Presense, the panoramic sunroof, and 3-zone climate control. If you step up to the Premium Plus, which is what we have, it's going to be $37,800 or $39,100 if you want the S-Line package. That gets you side assist, keyless entry, a power tailgate, wireless charging, and a frameless mirror. Now, there's a few things that our Premium Plus model was still missing out on, even though we had a couple of option packages on our car. $42,900 gets you the Prestige S-Line trim. That's the highest trim there is. You get a bigger virtual cockpit display and a larger central touchscreen. You get a B&O audio system with 15 speakers, a 360-degree camera, folding side mirrors, and adaptive cruise control. I highly suggest stepping up to the Prestige package. The one we have here is about $45,000 as opt-in. So for $42,900, you're only going to be spending a little bit more once you factor in the options we had on our car to get the Prestige. So that's the way I would do it. So after spending a week of vacation with the 2020 Audi Q3, I've come to the conclusion that this is one of, if not the best, vehicle in its class. That's the subcompact luxury SUV class. But as I've said before, I don't think this is a class that really needs to exist. If you want a luxury car, you want something big, comfortable, and full of tech. So putting all of that into a small SUV that's smaller than a RAV4, smaller than a CX-5, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. You're basically spending a lot more money so that you can have this badge up front, whether it's, say, Audi, BMW, or Volvo. It's kind of the same story wherever you go. These subcompact luxury SUVs just don't feel that special to me. That being said, I think the Q3 is an extremely strong contender in this segment, which is why it earns a CarBuzz score of great buy. I think if you are in the market for one of these subcompact luxury SUVs, the Q3 is a strong contender, right up there with the Volvo XC40 being one of my favorites. I hope you've enjoyed this video. See you next time.